Welcome to the November 19, 2019 Board of Commission meeting. Please silence your cell phone, pagers, and other electronic communication devices. Agendas are located at the back of the chambers on the bookcases. If you'd like to speak on any item today, please fill out a speaker request. It's on the back of the bookcases there, and then give them to Ms. Holly Hennies, our office manager, in the black shirt to the left here. Next, we will do moment of silent reflection and pledge of allegiance led by, let's see, Jerome Harvey.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, we'll have review and approval of the agenda.
So move.
Moved by Drews, second by DeSanto. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Holly, consent agenda, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. For public notice, the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the Board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items: approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of November 5th, 2019. Number 6 is to schedule a budget supplement public hearings at 9:15 a.m. on December 3rd for the following budget supplements. Number 20 is general fund abuse and neglect budget. Number 21 is general fund court appointed attorney budget. 22 is accumulated building 2017A master plan refinance budget. 23 is general fund weed and pest budget. 24 is for 24/7 fund. 25 is general fund jail budget. 26 capital project fund budget. And number 27 accumulated building fund stalling barn budget. Number 7 is to recognize and thank the volunteers for the month of October 2019 submitted by Human Resources and Fire Administration. Number 8 is to declare capital asset number 5887, which is a 2010 Dodge Dakota, as surplus for the purpose of disposal as scrap metal, as submitted by Planning and Zoning. And finally, number 9 is to approve the chair's signature to the South Dakota Forest Action Plan 2020 Revision Public Comments Letter, as written by our Natural Resources Director.
Thank you, Ms. Holly. Is there anyone from the public who wish to pull any items 5 through 9 to speak? If not, is there any commissioner who would like to pull any items 5 through 9?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner LaCroix.
item 9, please.
Number 9 by LaCroix.
And item 7?
Item 7 by DeSanto.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to approve the consent calendar, including all those items except for 7 and 9.
Motion by Drews,
Second.
second by LaCroix. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, Commissioner DeSanto, please.
Just wanted to pull this aside and recognize our sheriff's volunteers, jail volunteers, search and rescue, law enforcement, over 100 volunteers for the month of October, and we just appreciate everything that they do.
Thank you, Commissioner Santo. I think as commissioners, we all agree to all of our volunteers that make a difference in our county. So thank you for pulling that, Commissioner DeSanto. Do we have a motion on that? Number 7, please.
Move for
Make the motion to approve.
Moved by Drews,
second.
second by LaCroix. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, Commissioner LaCroix.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to express my appreciation to Scott Guffey for his work for this response to this letter to the Forest Action Plan revision. He did some good work on planning this, and he recognized how important the forest industry is to Pennington County, not only by the number of jobs, but also the forest management. And I think he did a really good job with the letter, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner LaCroix. Mr. Guffey? Commissioner Guffey. Anything to update us or anything on the Forest Service Action Plan?
No, I read through it, and, I think they could make a lot of good points. Appreciate the comments, Lloyd. I think one thing they are missing is the salt cedar or the Russian olive.
Yeah.
Not addressing that threat, and we're continue seeing that, continue to invade our bottomland forests, and hopefully they'll take notice and, address it a little further.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Guffey.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Job, Scott.
Do we have a motion on number 9, please?
Move to approve.
Moved by DeSanto, second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Regular agenda items. Number 10, tax deed property located at 321 South Street, Rapid City. Ms. Holly.
Commissioners, I spoke with Mr. Weimer, and he has indicated that he intends to move forward with his request to purchase this property under new terms. He is unavailable until the December 17th meeting and has asked for a continuance until that time.
Move to continue.
Moved by DeSanto to continue to December 17th.
Second.
Second by Drews. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Number 11, request to establish 25-mile speed limit in Windmere Road District by resolution. Motion or discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Drews?
When I read this, I was just surprised that a road district does not have apparently the right to establish their own speed limits. I did not realize that.
We have one of our highway department on this discussion and what they think about the 25 miles an hour speed limit as well, please.
Good morning, Commission. Joe Miller, Pennington County Highway Superintendent. So there's several laws that govern the road districts, and they do have the ability to set their own speed limit, but from our research and from what I understand is it's necessary for the commission to pass a resolution for the sheriff to be able to enforce it. And that's where this is coming from.
Okay. So, follow-up question.
Yes, sir.
So do we know how many people are in that road district and did they approve it by a resolution or something asking for this?
I'll let the road district speak on that.
Okay. Kevin, are you going to speak? Wrong Kevin. Right,
morning.
Kevin, but
Yes, I'm Kevin. I'm the president of the road district.
yes, sir.
Been a resident of the area for most of its existence. We have 76 homes that are in our district, and we were recently told by the engineer we're participating in that road sign project that we needed to do this, and he showed us an example, so that's why we were here today. We had set a speed limit, and we have posted speed limits for since 2002 or 3 or something like that, but I don't think we've ever come to the commission for approval so that the sheriff would enforce it, and that's what we're seeking today.
You have a follow-up, Commissioner Drews?
Just the follow-up is do you have the full support of the residents that live there?
Yes.
For this?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner DeSanto.
I'll point out, they did have a board of directors meeting and voted on a motion to approve the speed limit. So they did go through the proper actions to do this as a road district.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Moved by DeSanto,
Second.
second by LaCroy. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 12, please. Keep going. The other Barry and the other Kevin. This is a care campus year-end review by these two. Your names,
Come up
please.
here.
Slowly coming up. Good morning, Kevin Tone, Pennington County Sheriff.
Good morning, Barry Tice, the Director of Pennington County Health and Human Services.
Barry and I will kind of tag team this. I'll go ahead and kick it off. But first, I just want to acknowledge our partners, as you can see on the slide. Of course, Sheriff's Office, Health and Human Services, BMS, and the crisis care, and also supports the other side of the building as well, the police department in particular with the quality of life unit. And then Monumental Health, formerly Regional Health, has provided funding to the facility to help cover some of the nursing costs. So they've been a strategic partner as well. And as you know, we come online about a year ago now, and just recently, of course, did a ribbon cutting on the balance of the facility with the 64 treatment beds. And I think what's important now is we've reached a milestone in terms of a year. And you can see the numbers of their over 24,000 admissions and how they reported to the facility. One of the things we wanted to do is, of course, be very data-driven, and we made that decision on the front side, working with Barry and our people and our intake people, so we had good data, garbage in, garbage out. So we did good quality control on our data, so we had good stuff to work with after years, so we could make some policy decisions. How do we operate going forward? And we said we're not going to be a flop house for people, and we wanted to, provide good case management for those that are high users, and we're in the process of identifying our frequent users, our high-end users, and I guess operate as effectively and efficiently as we can as a facility. And with the data we have to date that we've collected, it's going to help us make policy decisions now as we move forward. So it'll be very useful. But I'll turn it to Barry on the next few slides, and we'll open up for any questions you may have.
Sure. This slide just breaks down the three primary programs within the facility: Safe Solutions, the Crisis Care Center, as well as the detoxification unit. And as Sheriff Tom mentioned, we really use data instead of what we assumed was occurring. This helps us, especially over the first year, identify what's happening, why it's happening. And as we move forward, as Sheriff Tom mentioned, we really can place a focus on our what we would consider high utilizers, sometimes referred to as recidivists, and why they're coming back, and what issues might be surrounding what's happening with them. And so this slide just breaks down the number of admissions per those primary programs.
And just one other thing that the data is going to track for us is, some people said build it and they'll come, and you'll get utilization it'll be a draw from outside the area. So we're specifically tracking that to see if we're getting outside users coming in just because of the care campus. We don't feel that's occurring in any great numbers, and if we do identify people, again, we case manage them and try and get them back to the communities from which they originated or where they're headed to. And also one other quick plug, Chief Deputy Willie Welchell's here. Barry and I are up here talking about it, but Willie's been instrumental in helping get this up and running this last year. So
Just a question. So, based on your programs and your data, are we having more mental health issues with, basically, drug abuse, alcoholism, and we're finding maybe, that some of that data would help us through the state? And we're identifying issues and things that Pennington County and Western South Dakota needs forward because of that data, or because of the things that maybe we need to do for programs. That's our next step.
and there's a lot of co-occurring with substance abuse and mental health, and we identify some of that in our facility. Really, the mental health pieces, what Barry was instrumental in with the Helmsley Foundation study we recently completed, and we're trying to move forward with those steps. That'll be the real focus on, the mental health needs for, our region in Western South Dakota.
Okay.
And one of the big pieces with this facility was, of course, the design. So with a mental health professional being on site 24 hours a day, that provides the ability for the professional to essentially float within the facility, and for individuals using the multiple programs, including residential treatment, to come and visit with the qualified mental health professional on site, which is a big piece to this, providing the right services at the right time.
So tell me, if someone, and I forgot the steps, you go in and you have alcohol problem, for example, and then do you ask them, do you want to go to detox, or do you stick them in detox for a day, or how does that work when there's an alcohol issue? Do they have to commit to say, I want to stay here 3 days and detox and then do 30-day treatment, or how does that cycle work from the beginning to what are the next steps?
I mean, the staff are trained at the intake to triage people. So when people come in, they triage them and decide what services they may need, whether it's detox, safe solutions, or crisis care, or some combination thereof. In some cases, law enforcement may do an actual hold on them where they're, confined to detox and can't leave. So it can happen in a variety of ways, but really the focal point is the staff that triage them on the front side, and they're trained as to link them to the appropriate service.
Okay.
I think, I'll just answer. I think I know where she's going. If they come in and they're intoxicated, the first thing you gotta deal with is the intoxication, the detoxify. Then you can, work with, to see if there's mental problems, the underlying problems, then they'd be assessed where.
But when do you keep them 3 days? I heard detox is like 3 days. I mean, it's not a certain amount of time of 3 days. It's just depending on what they need.
Well, if you go on a detox hold, that would be a mandatory hold. And so that would be the only mandatory hold. The crisis care is not a mandatory hold. You can leave, come and go from there. Of course, the other alternative from there is stepping it up to, Regional West and doing a hold on somebody at Regional West. But and Safe Solutions is voluntary. You can come and go from there.
Big piece to this too is I wanted to emphasize is Sheriff Tom's staff and Chief Deputy Welch's staff within the care campus, as well as Health and Human Services caseworkers. I always say it's easy for me to come up and talk about the information we're providing here, but they're the ones doing the work, and especially on the backside, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you walk down the alley where the primary entrance is, and you'll always see law enforcement vehicles back there, and it's a very busy place, and so they do very good work, and I know the sheriff always emphasizes this as well. This slide focuses on care campus by gender, and with the number of beds within the facility, there's an increase on the male side versus the female side, obviously because of the usage that's demonstrated here, shown here.
Go ahead, Barry. This is what we talk about is system diversion, and Barry's broke this down by offenses people come into the facility. In other words, instead of going to the jail, some people call it jail diversion. I prefer the term system diversion because you're not burning public defender time, state street time, court time, and jail time. So it's more comprehensive than just jail diversion.
And this slide highlights the 16% of the referrals into this facility, and that's just in the first year coming over to the care campus versus the Pennington County Jail. And there's 6 isolation units. Sometimes Chief Deputy Welch will refer to it as the timeout rooms, but there tends to be what I would say would be a rowdier cast of characters that's brought over here, but the staff does such a good job on the backside de-escalating individuals and then gets them placed in the appropriate programs. But you can see the offenses, and we'd consider those, or I would say from the human services world, low-level offenses or low-level offenders. And these are the individuals we're really working hard on trying to get placements for. And so there's a group within the care campus that I participate with where we're really looking at some of the between the 20 and 30 really high utilizers and figuring out why they're not connected and what we can do to help that process too.
And Barry, put a number to this, isn't it? I don't remember, 800-900 people. You put in numbers to this?
There's right around 11, I think it's just over 1,000.
Is it 1,000
Yep.
now? So it's 1,000 people that didn't go to the jail and were diverted here, so has a direct impact on the jail as well. And just a couple other comments too. Obviously, it would not have been possible without support of the commission at the time to move forward, and also without the philanthropy support we had. $2.2 million in philanthropy support helped us finish off the second floor. So we had good community support in terms of getting this up and running. And we've had a number of people, not just from South Dakota, but around the country, come and tour the facility and ask, how'd you do it and what are you doing, and looking at it as a model for other communities.
Commission, any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner LaCroix.
First of all, I want to thank you guys for your presentation and the hard work you do. I just want to recognize that, some people know that I used to work at Detox in the late 80s and early 90s, and so I've been involved with Detox probably since the early 80s. I just want to remind people that a lot of people have a lot of preconceptions of the type of people that come in there, and let me say, these are your mothers, your brothers, your fathers, your sons, your daughters that come in here. People from all walks of life with all different types of problems. I mean, I can remember admitting lawyers, doctors, so forth, people with degrees that just the crisis in their lives have driven them down to that point, and they built themselves back up. So I just want to clarify that, the type of people that we're serving. But not only that, but Detox is a partnership between the city and the county. And it started way back when the first Detox was back on Silver Street. And it was controversial back then, and then it moved over to some other places. And the one I remember is on St. Pat, and then over on La Crosse. And the services have grown and gotten certified throughout the years. And we've learned to deal with more of the symptoms than the problem. Because I do believe at some point we look at just dealing with the problem, but just the detox fine, just taking the drugs out. We need to do more of the preventative and working with the underlying problems that are causing to get to that point. And I think we're doing a heck of a job now. We really are. We've come a long way with the partnerships, not only with the philanthropy, but I can remember we did a community needs assessment back in 2007 with the city with Barb Garcia, and we had judges, we had community leaders in there, and mental health was one of the problems that we had to deal with. And when I start talking about dual diagnosis and underlying reasons of why this is happening, that's what I'm talking about. Mental health is one part of it, which is another symptom is the alcoholism, which then creates more problems. And I think you guys are doing an outstanding job of getting to that point where we need to be, where we're dealing with the underlying problems, so we're not seeing the reoccurring cost to our community. And that's very important because some of the cost to our community is high when you start talking ambulance services, emergency response, police officers. We've got a really good program going on, Barry and Kevin. I think you guys have done an outstanding job at bringing those people together and communicating that in the community. Rapid City, I believe we are unique. We are unique that we have the people that will come together to find the solution. And you see that with the city, the county, nonprofits, the faith-based, the philanthropy that's going on. They all see that, and we're outstanding. And I think you guys just do an outstanding job. I just want to give a little bit of thanks to Tom Hennies. He was one of the leaders way back when with starting the detox, but seeing from where it was back in the 80s to where it is now, he'd be proud of what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner?
Well, I've got to give you guys kudos. I was a doubter, you know I was, and a skeptic when we started talking about this. And now that I've seen the results that are happening and the impact that we're having, I'm sold. I'm no longer a skeptic. I think that what we're doing is right. I will continue to encourage the philanthropic groups in the area to support this, and I just want to say that you've proven me wrong. So thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
Commissioner Drews?
I just want to say that for Kevin and Barry, they've put together a great team to pull this all together. There's a lot of moving parts to this whole thing, and as smooth as it's operated this first year is unbelievable, I think. I don't think there's very many programs where you bring that many different parts and try to put it together that operate that smooth during that initial period of time. And so I just want to credit you and the others that were part of the initial process of putting this all together and pulling it together. And I know that as we go forward, there's going to be adjustments and changes that are going to be made because of learning experience during this period of time. But I just want to thank you for all the effort that you put into it to make a very viable program for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bottom line is, there was a vision, and that vision took place back probably or so years ago, when they started talking about a care campus and how they could do a one-stop helping facility, and it's made a huge difference in Rapid City, based on city and county, but you two had that vision as well. Barry, you've been looking at this for years, and I know it's been one of your dreams. We'd be amiss if we didn't have Willie Wetchell come up here. You only get 5 minutes, though, Willie. You don't get that 25 today. We do give Willie lots of issues with teasing him on his speeches, but you're not going to find a guy besides Barry and Sheriff that love what he's doing. And since this has been open, I say he's the face behind the scenes that makes that difference. And I'm going to just say this feels the love for this care campus more than any person I've seen. So, Willie, please.
Well, I will. I'll keep it short and brief. Again, thank you. Obviously, as you've all recognized today, that this wouldn't have happened without the help of a lot of people. It's not just any one of us. It's a large number of folks, and I just appreciate everybody's support. This is truly the most awesome thing going on, in my opinion, not only Rapid City, South Dakota, but this whole part of the country. And, you know, it's not about any one of us. It's about all these, and they're just numbers up on a board, just as that is just brick and mortar across the street. But it's all the commitment and the hearts that are put into that, because we're truly making a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. And I see it on a regular basis that it may be small steps, but we're making the right steps in the right direction, and we truly, years down the road, we're going to see this impact for our community and our area, what it's going to do for everybody involved. So thank you for the kudos. Thank you for all your support. Like I said, I know there's been folks out there that really have questioned this, which there's nothing wrong with that. There should be lots of questions, and there should be accountability and everything, just as the sheriff's plan and Barry for all this. And now we're doing all that work to make sure that we're doing it right. And when we need to change, we'll change and adjust and adapt as time goes on, but we'll be ready for that as it comes. So thank you.
Thank you. One more thing, we have NACO, which we have been in touch with many of us going to their meetings around the United States in different places. But bottom line is, when we went to some of the meetings, a lot of us noticed that, I think Commissioner LaCroix started this, that we should be involved in NACO, and that with this care campus, bring this forward. And now they've accepted us to do a article in their newspaper because of what we do here in South Dakota, Rapid City. I'm going to give kudos to Commissioner LaCroix because of that and moving us forward. I, with Holly, have moved that in the direction that Commissioner LaCroix wanted to do, but it was his idea, and we're just following through with what his idea was. And then when you go to those meetings, this is what's exciting, and I think I told Barry and Sheriff Tom this, we are ahead of the game in many areas throughout the United States or the nation. That's exciting. You don't really get it as a commissioner. You do, because we're doing some awesome stuff. But when you go to other places throughout the United States, and we are way ahead of that game, and we're South Dakota, and some people, we don't have that many people that live here, that kind of thing. I was just like, wow, like that kind of thing going on in my heart, saying these guys are like kicking some butt. So we wanted to make sure that if we had something to share throughout these different counties, that we could show them what that next step is. And you guys and this campus is it. And so for me, that's just pretty cool. This commission, this team, care campus, sheriff, all the players, you should be proud of yourselves. You've made this happen. And now we're going to show, and we're going to have people, as Sheriff says and Barry says, people are coming here to see what we've done. I mean, you can't do it any better than that. That vision that you had, Barry, and many of your people that are on your team and Sheriff, It happened, and now I'm just excited for what we can do for other counties and other areas to show them how it's done, and then those next steps for the future are exciting to watch. Think about that, those future of mental health and things that we can keep improving on and lowering the costs of our jail instead of sticking people in jail. That's huge. When you can actually identify the issues and not just throw people in jail. A lot of the counties are doing that, and it's cost them millions of dollars. We've learned to divert that in a very positive way, and you guys made that happen. So it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting to watch for the future as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner LaCroix.
Just one follow-up. I just wanted to give a shout out to some people that I think with Detox who I felt were pretty outstanding, and that'd be Dee Glasgow. He was a past director from there. Doug Austin with a lot of the certifications and getting things going from way back then. Don Holloway had a big part in this. Wait, I'm talking just Detox at the Care campus, but also Brenda Wood. There are some past directors and Willie, of course. But I mean, I think those people, their compassion and insight helped get us to where we are today too, along with Kevin Tome and you got Barry.
Thank you for acknowledging the people in the past, because we keep building on the foundations that, we inherited as we come along. So they did a lot of the pre-work. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commission. Thank you, Commissioner DeSanto. That was pretty awesome that you have seen
One
what
case
has
I
been
don't
doing.
mind being proven wrong.
No, and it's okay because sometimes when I've seen stuff and hear stuff until I see it and feel it, I don't really get it. So you're not the only one here. So we appreciate that, sir. Number 13 is items from State's Attorney's Office. And your name, sir?
Mark Vargo, Pennington County State's Attorney. Good morning, Madam Chair. Probably couldn't pick a better way to lead into this, because when we talk about next steps and we talk about things that have come out of the Care Campus, you're all fairly well familiar at this point with our diversion programming, and I've had a chance to talk to each of you individually, and I know we've done some presentations as well, that our juvenile diversion programs remains both the largest and most successful in the state, that our young adult diversion programming remains at a sub 20% recidivism rate, and that we've expanded into adult diversion. But without the Care Campus, we never could have done that next step that we were just talking about, which is our drug diversion programming. Because given the drugs that we're dealing with in western South Dakota, the methamphetamine is obviously the leader, but heroin and fentanyl, there just aren't ways in that short turnaround that we use for diversion programming to say, okay, we're going to put you through a diversion program. We had to have a completely different model. Now, it's the same in the sense that we are incentivizing people to go out and make positive changes in their lives. So we're focused on changing behaviors. But it's going to take longer when you're dealing with those kinds of addictions. And without the Care Campus as kind of the bedrock of, that's where we put the people that are really deep into this. So we are certainly utilizing all of the three legs of the stool that the sheriff likes to talk about. Our partnership with I Am Legacy has allowed us to do some prevention work, particularly in our young Native community, but with youngsters generally. Our cooperation with Seven Directions has allowed us to provide some aftercare treatment and to use that as diversion for people that have already gotten to the point that maybe they're on the right path, but they need some help staying there. And so we've been working with them, and that's a really exciting partnership that we've had. But what I wanted to do today was to update you a little bit, because our drug diversion program has started with Stuart Huntington, and Stuart has done an amazing job at starting to set the groundwork. Hopefully in 10 years, when we're talking about him, that'll be one of the names that one of the commissioners should hopefully remember, because he's put some things in place and helped us get some procedures in place that I think are going to be the foundation. But we knew we were only getting Stuart for a short time. I'm interviewing drug diversion candidates today and tomorrow for people that are going to take over that job full time, or a person will take that over. But there's an even more exciting part to this, which is that we have been reaching out to a lot of different places. We don't have a huge budget here, and we understand that we have to be very careful with the money we spend. So we've been really kind of beating the bushes to find places to put people that are either relatively low cost or sometimes even free. And one of the partners that we reached out to was Native Healing, and that's up at the old Susan. And they are looking at creating be a residential, not technically inpatient, but a residential treatment facility. And so I thought it was appropriate. They have asked us for some assistance. I have that in my budget, and I intend to make that contribution to them to allow us to have a place to send people for further residential beds. So Care Campus is great. Don't get me wrong, we couldn't act without it. But if we can get another 25 beds in town, of which we're talking probably 12 will be principally reserved for diversion type candidates, that'd be really great. And so what I did was I invited Stanley LaRock and Diane Zephyr to come up and present to you what they're anticipating. They're hoping to be live at the first of the year. And to give you a kind of an understanding, this is something that's already within, I believe, my authority and certainly within my budget. We have the funds available. But I wanted you to know when I'm signing a fairly big check, I feel it's appropriate to at least give you a heads up. So I invited them, and Stanley and Diane, if you've got care to come up.
Mark, were you going to tell us what was the amount that you are helping with the Native Healing with?
We anticipate that it'll be in the vicinity of $25,000 to $35,000.
Okay.
Stanley has given us a list of some things that, and I asked him to go through some of the work he's already done. He's done an amazing job as well with a limited budget to go out to various organizations and various places to try to get funding. This is really a very small piece of what he's done, but we're maybe the last piece. So that's the part that I felt it was appropriate to invest in. And again, if that exists in our community, and if we can place people there, particularly in the diversion context, it would just be an amazing thing. Because we talked about all of the cooperation that Commissioner LaCroix was mentioning. This would be one with our tribal partners. And that is a very important piece of this, and one that I think in the long term is going to be very exciting and very productive. So.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here. I'm Stan LaRock. I'm the director of the Native Healing Program. We've been in operation on the Susan campus for over 40 years. We started out as a homeless shelter, and then over the years we turned it into a substance abuse program. We were doing inpatient for over 20 years, and then our building burned down in 2010. We since turned it into an outpatient program, with always in the mind that we wanted to get our inpatient program back because it was well known all over the country. Hope Lodge was a real distinctive program, and it still is. We have not stopped serving people. We put through several thousand people a year through our program, and with good results, because we have the cultural piece that helps our Native people. We have sweat lodges where they come 3 times a week. We put on sweat, and those sweats are always full. Our IOP programs are full. We have waiting lists. We are also do domestic violence, anger management. We do everything we can to help our community to change their lives. And I see what we're doing here with the diversion program as a real step forward. For a long time, our biggest problem was once people get in the system, they get arrested, they get a record, they have a hard time finding employment, hard time finding a place to live, and it's very difficult for them to get through the system. They end up living with relatives and whatever, which puts a burden on those households. You well know there's a lot of families that have 4 or 5 families living in individual housing. But besides that, what we're trying to do, we recently bought the Wellfully building, 24 beds. Right now we're renovating that. we're really close to being finished, but we just need our, the final step is getting beds and some appliances in there. So we asked Mark to help us with that. But I think, doesn't matter how many beds we put towards this, I think, it's important that we be part of this plan. We talked to sheriff, we reached out to them too, not only for them to help us, but us to help them, because we know a lot of our counselors are culturally adept. We have master's level clinicians on mental health and CD, because our program is going to be a dual diagnosis facility. So we're up to date on the new practices, but uh, our biggest thing is we have a culture component in our program that helps our Native people. So we also recently got a prenatal grant to help those young women who are pregnant but maybe on substances, that so we can help them get through the system, get the mental health and the CD help that they need, so they can get prenatal care. So I think that's real innovative on our part. We're the first one in the country to do that. So we hope we're going to be real successful in that. We have a great team. We have Diane Zephyr, a former judge working on our team. We have Dr. Larry Morningstar, who's a graduate of Johns Hopkins, working with us as well. So we have a dream team, really. But so we're out there pounding the pavement. Just got back from D.C. Asking for more support. So because our long-term goal is not just to stop here. We want, there's 113 acres out up above the fish hatchery that the tribe owns. We hope to someday have a whole treatment facility up there with inpatient, with transitional living, aftercare programs. So long term, because what we do know through this is it's not just the addict or that we're dealing with the family as well. So we want to address that as well, and we do a lot of that family stuff in our program. So it's a process. But what you guys doing in this town, we want to be a part of it because it's exciting, and they've reached out to us. So we're excited to be on the ground floor of all of this. We've been in the care campus. We really appreciate what they're doing. We've had a lot of those police officers come to our NEPI, and so we're working with them as well as them working with us. So I think it's a good partnership. We want to be part of that partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Miss Diane?
Good morning. My name's Diane Zephyr. I've just been working with Native Healing for about 6 months, but we've done a lot. We did get a grant through the state, and it's an innovation grant. It's a pilot project for women that are pregnant or childbearing age, that are using substances, and to be part of the diversion program to help them go through, our program, and also have the possibility of their charges being dismissed. I think it's a real incentive for natives, not just Native women, but also all of natives that would be eligible for this program. So our kickoff on that is like December 18th is when we start the innovation grant. So we're excited about that. And, when Mark or Mr. Vargo talked with us about the diversion program, that was something that we really wanted to be a part of to help people get into that program. And also, Native Healing has been a pretty well kept secret in this town, I think, even though we've been there 40 years. So we wanted to be more of the community. And that's, you know, we are still writing grants. We are still moving forward to get perhaps, you know, adolescents into this program too down the road though. But if you have any questions, we'll be happy to address those. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did want to add that while Native Healing has asked us to be helpful in this sense and at this moment, we're already making use of their services. So we've already been sending people up on other types of diversion to their programming that they have. So they've already invested in us, and this is really just kind of a return investment. And again, it's wonderful that we have, 60-some beds and an increase of 30, I think it was 36 or 38 beds compared to where we were before. That care campus is just an absolute game changer for this community, and particularly for our addicted portion of this community. But this is also, I mean, that's another 25 beds. That's almost the same amount. And so it's very exciting to see what we might be able to accomplish. And again, I think it comes back to that cooperation that we've been talking about. This never happens if somebody that I'm working with doesn't mention, oh, Native Healing has a grant related to, we're working with the Great Plains Tribal Chairs, and they mentioned that this grant was in the works as it related to pregnant women. And that's been a target zone of ours, obviously, for diversion, because you can save 2 generations, hopefully. And then in those meetings, we're part of that now, but then we also discussed the possibility of what's happening at Wellfully. So I think it's like I said, it's just a very exciting prospect, and the closer cooperation that we have. So many of the citizens of Pennington County are also citizens of the reservations. And so it absolutely makes sense that these 2 entities cooperate to serve that community. So I just wanted to let you know where we were. Certainly, if you have any questions for any of us, be happy to answer.
Commissioner LaCroix?
Well, thank you, Stan and Diane, for your input. Stan, you're absolutely right that it's flown underneath our radar. I remember from the Hope Lodge days and people taking firewood up for the sweat lodges and some of the work and the detox had worked with the Hope Lodge and moving people around. And it's probably been underneath my radar for quite a while. But what you guys are doing, I think this is monumental with the state's attorney's office joining powers with you. That handshake, I think, is outstanding because that identifies that you guys are doing some good work. One of the biggest things I hear in the community, in the Native American community, is they want the spiritual part of it. They want to get, that's what they need, and by you providing the cultural part of the healing, I think is important. I think that everyday normal life we overlook that, but it is important. I think this partnership, I think, is outstanding, and I'd like to. It's been a long time since I've been up there, but I'd like to come up and tour it.
Thank you very much.
Or visit at the Wellfully building?
Yeah, I've heard that was starting up, but yeah, that too. I would.
Their Native Healing Center now.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Drews?
Diane, just a question relative to that, to the grant that you received. I understood you to say that it not only benefits those that are already pregnant, but others that are in their childbearing years. So it's not restricted to just ladies that are pregnant. Is that correct?
Right. That is correct. And, you know, we will open it up to others too down the road, of course. But that's our main focus right now because, like Mark said, it is saving, 2 generations plus, the whole family.
Correct. Thank you.
What is the IOP program?
That's intensive outpatient program. And it's usually after they've been in an inpatient program. It's 30 days. They're supposed to meet with us 9 hours a week, and that's generally 3 hours of group 3 times a week, and then they have to meet with their counselor for an hour a week, and that's state mandated. So we follow those guidelines as well as our cultural component too. Um, our curriculum has been accepted by the state, even though it's cultural based, it's also evidence based as well.
Thank
So
you.
we are a 638 program, which is substance abuse generated.
I guess here's where I'm at. I've been around Rapid City, what, 25 years, okay. I've heard about the sweat lodges and stuff up at Susan, but I haven't heard about the other programs that you guys have had up there for some reason.
That's like they said, it was the best kept secret in Rapid City for a long time.
Well, and I don't mean this rudely, but I hang around a lot of Native people, and I've heard about the sweat lodges, but I've never heard about the programs that you had, and maybe they just didn't want to tell me they were in treatment. I mean, that's not something you tell somebody. Um, but I'm respectfully believe that the native healing is the best way with the culture and the people. That's how you're gonna make that program work. Does that make sense? They're not going to go through our programs as well as yours if that's what their culture is and that's what who they are. So I truly believe in what you're doing. Um, the funding sources for your programs come from grants and other people, or how does the fund? How does the what I mean for the future is how are we keeping these programs going, and what resources are you using to do that for the future?
Well, we're a federally subsidized program, so anybody who comes to our program, if they're from a federally recognized tribe, they get free services. But we also accept Medicaid too. We part of third-party billing as well. Um, but we get a grant every year from um, Great Plains in Pierre that helps us stay open and keeps us running, so we'll never close.
That's what I'm just making sure for the future, if this becomes something very positive, how are we
Right.
moving forward on that? And then do the tribes reimburse you for the inpatients? I know on some of the stuff that I've seen before, like if they have some tribal members, that federally they will reimburse you guys for their people being in the programs. How's that work, Diane?
What we are doing is third-party billing, Medicaid, and Medicare sometimes. So that is what will sustain us. We can bill for inpatient, outpatient, and all the counseling services. So that will be the process that will sustain us. But the grant that we get from IGES is called a master contract, and it is, assured every year. So.
And I believe if when you're moving forward with this, I think it's going to be a huge success because you already know, we have three reservations around Rapid City, and it's a well-needed program. And I just want to make sure it's well-funded, meaning something that's sustainable for the future. You've had it in there 40 years at the Susan, but this isn't something that should be a well-kept secret anymore, Mr.
And part of that,
That's all I'm
it's
saying.
hard to say is the funding. The federal government sends down a stipend to us. We live on a very limited budget. That's why we reach out, because every year the government only gives us so much money, and like this year we got cut $2,000 from our last budget. I mean, that we should be moving up instead of down, but that's the politics I try to stay out of. I try to keep the program going, so I'll reach out. We'll get grants to try to subsidize what we don't get from the federal government.
Well, we have many tribal members that are in Rapid City, so I would hope the tribes in some of their budgets would see what this is doing for their people as well, and that through that evidence-based or that success, that they would want to partner a lot more with you guys as well, just seeing their people be successful and what that next step is to be successful through your program. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you very
Chair.
much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner LaCroix.
I'd just like to give the opportunity for Stuart Huntington to, if he's got any comments.
Stuart, do you have some,
I know Stuart's been outstanding work in this area also and some other things, and I just appreciate his thoughts.
Thank you, sir. I would just like to sum up, make a comment over this whole last hour in here, and that is that you guys and all the people in this room, in this county, are doing historic work. You're taking historic steps. I was talking to Commissioner Drews earlier. I've been working, been lucky enough to work with Mark for just 2 months starting his meth diversion program, and that qualifies me as a national expert now. And the steps that you guys, that this county is making with the native infrastructure and their native partners is also remarkable. And thank you, Lloyd. My observation, sir, is that what you are all doing is historic and will be viewed as such as you go forward.
thank you.
Thanks, Stuart.
And I'd like to throw one more thing out there. The reason we have the money in the budget is because of the outstanding work that we've done on our other diversion programming that brought that money in. That the difference here is that juvenile incentive that we've been bringing in record numbers. And I will throw out there, by the way, that at the summer studies, we had some interesting discussions about incentivizing adult diversion, so that the state would take back some of the stuff that they dumped on the counties and at least maybe help us finance the folks that they sent back to us. So lots of interesting stuff coming on down the road, but this was something, you know, that I don't give you weekly updates or anything. This was something that I thought was important enough to hear directly from, and so thank you for your time.
Sir.
Thanks.
One thing, Commissioner LaCroix, you are right. Stuart Huntington has been involved with a lot of the native people in many areas besides this, but he did come up and say, Deb, I need this done. So I was like, okay. So bottom line is he was one helping push this forward based on his information and the things he's been working on for years. So this isn't just something Stuart came about, like he says, in the last 2 months. This has been coming about, I think, for him and watching his people around him that need help. So we appreciate you a lot, Stuart, and we're going to miss you when you're gone because we always enjoyed your interviews and all your things you used to harass us on. I'm teasing you, Stuart. All right. Number 14, items from the auditor, Miss Cindy.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cindy Moeller, Pennington County Auditor. The first item that we have on the agenda was continued from last meeting, and that was the renewal of the package liquor off-sale license for Johnson Siding. And I know that Planning and Zoning has been in contact with them in regards to some evidently septic issues up there. And I don't know, did you have anything in regards to that, Jay? Well, you
On behalf of Planning and Zoning, it's my understanding that the director is fine with continuing this matter for another couple of weeks, is it?
Yeah.
Because they're working on, apparently, maybe have that septic issue taken care of, waiting for confirmation on that. So with that, I don't have anything.
You don't
else
have
to
anything
say on
else?
behalf
Okay.
of Planning and
Okay,
Zoning.
so we'll have a motion to continue, Miss Cindy?
Yes, please.
Holly, to December 3rd or 3rd? December 3rd?
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner, moved by Commissioner Drews,
Second?
second by Commissioner DeSanto. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item B, please.
And then we have the renewal of the wine and cider license for Black Hills Helicopters, Inc., Prairie Berry Winery, and Summer Creek Inn. We would ask approval of those licenses as presented in a release of payment of taxes.
Moved by Rosknecht,
Second.
second by Drews. Any discussion?
Quick question.
Yes.
Where is Summer Creek Inn located?
Evangelist goes on 385 across from Black Horse Den.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item C, please.
The next item is the renewal of liquor with Sunday sales for Rimrock Event Center and the Silver Dollar Saloon.
Motion or discussion?
Move to approve.
Moved by Drew, second by DeSanto. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Miss Cindy. Items from equalization, looks like Gordon's here today. Morning, Gordon.
Good morning. Gordon Wendell, Pennington County Equalization. These items that we're requesting abatement for, or Shannon talked a little bit last time, that there was gonna be a bunch of them that the sheriff's office could not collect. So these are all that, except for number 2, the parcel 62112, which is, they applied for owner occupied and should have got it. They did not, but the rest of them are non-collectible.
Okay.
So we're requesting that you grant the abatement for these 5 items.
Board, do you want to take it separate or all at once?
All at once.
Okay, do we have a motion, please?
I've got a question for
Okay, sorry.
Gordon. Gordon, explain that number 2 to me again.
It was a situation where they applied for owner occupied and they should have got it,
Oh, okay,
but they did not.
okay.
Madam
I
Chair,
understand.
Commissioner Roskinek.
number A. So the, on the application, we've got marked, an error's been made in identifying the property or description of the real property.
Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
Oh, this would be the, first one.
Number 1?
Number 1?
That'd be Melvin and Rosemary Jewel.
Okay, all right.
So if I'm looking at this right, it says, are we in the, we got marked, it's marked error in identifying the property. And over to the left, it says they're both deceased, and I just wondered why that particular box is marked instead of another one that might have been more applicable.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess I don't have an answer for you on that. I don't know why that box was marked in that case
Yeah.
for that
Check down
particular.
at the bottom.
That was my thinking. I just wanted to make sure I understood, the abatement process.
Yeah, the owners are deceased and uncollectible. Yeah, I'm not sure why that first box.
And I'm not disagreeing with abatement, I just didn't know if the right box is checked.
Right.
Thank you. Any other questions, sir?
Nope. Motion to approve.
Motion by Roskinek,
Second.
second by Drews. Any other discussion? Commissioner LaCroy, do you have a?
No.
No? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Items from Highway?
Good morning, Commission. Joe Miller, Pennington County Highway. Before you first, is a bridge that we have replaced with 3 culverts. The bridge was actually found, we were doing a survey of all our bridges again after the floodings this last spring. And our wall crew was looking underneath this and discovered the piling was all exposed, and we had our inspection, KLJ does our bridge inspections this year, had them go out and take a look at it. All the pilings were rotted, most of them were anyways, and they suggested closing the bridge. So at that time, we closed the bridge and had our engineer, Bill Welk, proceed to see if we could feasibly put some culverts in there and delete the bridge. So that's what we've done. As you can see there, putting the culverts in there, there's some criteria. We put the culverts far enough apart to where it is no longer considered a structure. It's just 3 culverts in there now. So gets a bridge off of our inventory and a little bit easier to maintain.
Commission, any discussion or motion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Roskinek.
Joe, if we do this, how many bridges are we gonna have left? 127?
127, yes.
Okay. Just
Yep.
checking.
Move for approval.
Moved by
Second.
DeSanto, second by Roskinek. Joe, did you have something else?
No.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries.
All right, the next item is our scenic township maintenance. This is actually the first item I ever spoke on last December 18th. So There's just a couple updates. Our rental rates, we revisited those last year. Our motor grader rental rate went up to $90 an hour. So, Scenic Township does our maintenance for $75 an hour. So that savings to the county goes up to $45 an hour, or $45 per hour savings on the gravel maintenance. Again, this is something that I don't know if all of you remember, but Scenic Township is probably furthest from uh, any of our maintenance hubs, and Wall would be taking care of this. It's approximately, I think, 25 or 30 miles south of Wall there, so it's quite the travel. All of our motor graders in Wall have quite a bit of ground to cover as is, so this is actually a benefit to the county to have them do this maintenance.
Thank you, Joe. Do we have a
Move
motion?
approval.
Thank you. Motion by Drews, second by DeSanto. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Roskinek.
Joe, at $75 an hour, would that be comparable to last year?
It's the same.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Superintendent. Employee handbook cost of living adjustment COLA section update.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Morrow, Pennington County Human Resources. The item I have before you today is actually an update to the handbook for a couple of different purposes. One is to correct a spelling error. And in the middle of the memo that you have, it shows that we originally had an age scale and time of service differential. That was a misprint. It was supposed to be wage scale, so we're asking for the update to actually correct that spelling error. The other portion, though, has to do with the timing of the actual cost of living increases and how they're applied for our employees. Under the old process, under the monthly process, there were 2 effective dates for employees. So under that process, it would have been December 22nd for non-exempt and January 1st for exempt employees. Under the biweekly structure, if everything is still left as it's currently worded, both of those would be delayed until January 12th. What we're asking for is to actually update the wording in the policy to be as stated here in the memo. So again, it says we want to update the word wage, include wage instead of age, and then the last portion of that portion of the policy shall be effective in the first pay period that has an ending date in the new calendar year. With your approval, then that would be put in place for this coming year. We'd be able to make those corrections immediately for any pay period changes that come up for the new calendar year.
Any discussion?
Move for approval.
Moved by LaCroy, second by Drews. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, John. Let's see, items from Commission Office. Holly Hennies, 2019 General Fund Contingency Transfer Commission Budget.
Yes, Commissioners, I'm respectfully requesting a contingency transfer into the Commission Office budget. Our budget was used to record the expense that resulted from the PILT litigation. From the underpayment from 2015 to 2017, we were shorted $60,166. So the difference of the $20,149 has been charged to our legal expense. And I just didn't have that in our budget, and I don't believe I can absorb it.
Discussion?
Madam
Motion?
Chair.
Sir?
So would this, instead of being a gain, it would be a net loss then, when it's all said and done?
No, in essence, we gained $40,000 that we
Okay.
wouldn't have gotten if we wouldn't have pursued it.
Okay.
It cost us 20, but we gained our 40.
Okay. I like coming out ahead.
Okay, we need a motion to move.
Motion to approve.
Authorize contingency transfer for 2019 General Fund Contingency 101-01120 to the 2019 General Fund Commission Budget 1010111 in the amount of $20,149. Moved by Roskinek, second by Drews. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Holly. Next, we'll have executive session 1-25-2-6, and then a personnel 1-25-2-1. So, motion to go in executive session, please.
Move to go into executive session.
Moved by Drews, second by DeSanto. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Do we have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Drews,
Second.
second by LaCroy. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Lloyd, you do have a motion?
Yes. I move to place Jerome Harvey at a grade 21, step 18 on the Pennington County pay scale for a biweekly pay rate of $28.99.20, effective December 15th, 2019.
There a second?
Second.
Motion by LaCroy, second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next, we're on planning and zoning.
Move to go into
Board of Adjustment by LaCroy.
adjustment, yeah.
Is there a second?
Second?
Second by DeSanto. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries.
I left my paperwork outside here. I gotta grab it.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
Sir?
Okay. Item A, PJ Conover, Director of Planning Department. Item A is variance 1914 for Brett and Jackie Swanson. This is a variance to reduce the minimum required front yard setback from 25 feet to 11 feet to build a shed on the existing concrete pad in a general agriculture district. Due to the fact that Rapid City Journal failed to advertise this hearing properly, staff's recommending this the hearing of the application for variance 1914 be moved to December 3rd, 2019 Board of Adjustment meeting.
So moved.
Moved by DeSanto,
Second.
second by LaCroy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Motion to come out of Board of Adjustment,
Move to come out of Board of Adjustment.
moved by DeSanto,
Second.
second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. And now we're on the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. The Board
Planning
of
Director?
The Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine planning and zoning items quickly. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board, and items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. The consent agenda for planning and zoning contains the following 4 items. Item B, second reading of rezone 1913 and comprehensive plan amendment 1913 for Leslie McGordy. Approval's been recommended. Item C, second reading of rezone 1915 and comprehensive plan amendment 1915 for Harold Beast. Approval's been recommended. Item D, second reading of rezone 1914 and comprehensive plan amendment 1914 for Ken Willard. Fist Land Surveying is the agent. Approval's been recommended. Item E, minor plat 1940 for General Western Bank for Dorothy Johnson Estates, and approval's been recommended.
Thank you, PJ.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody in the public who wish to remove any items B through E? Is there any commissioner who would like to remove any items B through E? If not, can we have a motion, please?
I move the consent agenda.
Moved by Drews on the consent agenda B through E.
Second.
Second by Ross Connect. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item F.
Item F is Plan Unit Development Review 0607 for Rapid City MHP LLC Cimarron Mobile Home Park, which is the review of a plan unit development to allow a mobile home park in accordance with Section 213 of the Pennington County zoning ordinance. Due to difficulty with staff to reach the landowner of the property, staff and the Planning Commission recommended to continue the review of Plan Unit Development 0607 to no later than the December 17th, 2019 Board of Commissioners meeting with one condition.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by DeSanto, second by LaCroy.
Question.
Question?
How many
Discussion?
times can that be continued before it starts over?
Before it starts over?
Yeah.
I wouldn't start over.
Okay, so, but this started out back in October, did it not?
It did. Yep. And we've had difficulty contacting landowners and working with the management on this property as far back as reviews as I can remember.
Okay.
Yes.
So it can be basically continued
Indefinitely.
indefinitely?
It can, but we don't like to do that. We at least give them, allow them to due diligence and try and get it done. Yep.
Is it
Reasonable time.
One of the conditions,
Discussion, LaCroy?
oh, sorry. Isn't that one of the conditions?
That'd be the cost of an extra review? Yes, 511X, that is correct.
Yes, so
Yes.
that's part of saying, hey, you want to keep continuing this.
That is
with
correct,
it.
yeah. And what is really,
$100.
And Commissioner Drews, we've actually had some success with a previous manager who has since left the property and left the temporary manager in place, so kind of starting over at this point.
Okay. So we do have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item G, please.
Item G is first reading and public hearing of rezone 1916 and comprehensive plan amendment 1916 for Richard Aldrin to rezone 107.24 acres from general agriculture district to limited agriculture district and to amend the Pennington County comprehensive plan to change the future land use from general agriculture district to limited agriculture district. Due to a failure of Rapid City Journal to notice this properly, Planning Commission and staff recommend the continuation of rezone 1916 and comprehensive plan amendment 1916 to December 17, 2019 Board of Commissioners meeting.
Motion,
Madam Chair,
Commissioner DeSanto.
move for approval.
Okay, hold on a sec. Moved by DeSanto, is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Second by LaCroy, and discussion by DeSanto.
Explain to us what happened with the journal.
So my understanding from what I was told is they were putting a new software system in place, and that's why you see at least 3 items due to the lack of advertising correctly that were missed, and it was just that one paper.
And what's that cost us?
For that one thing I couldn't say, but I could tell you it's over $150 for all 3 from today.
What I figured. Will they notice these at no charge the next time?
We're treating this just like what happened with the current before, and they reimburse us for it.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a motion by DeSanto, second by LaCroy. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Item H.
Item H is an appeal of conditional use permit previously approved by the Planning Commission. This is for Marilyn and Greg Bolt, which is to allow an existing single-family residence to be used as a bed and breakfast in a low-density residential district. A copy of the appeal is in your packet. Marilyn Bolt is in the audience today if you have any questions. The Bolts have had a conditional use permit for a guest house on the property since 2018, and it was reviewed last year in 2019 and recommended for approval, and it has been in operation ever since. On the subject property, we have, sorry for the blurry picture, there is a single-family residence built in 2018, guest house built in 2019, and a current operating permit and a construction permit for the septic system. There's no flood area on the property, and it takes access off of the southwest side of the property off of Silver Mountain Road. This was routed through the interdepartmental review, and no items of concern came back. Because this is a conditional use permit, there are 5 items that needed to be addressed by the Planning Commission. Those items are on the screen before you. The first item, staff's response is this conditional use permit could affect the use and enjoyment of other properties in immediate vicinity due to increased traffic and potential noise. The staff cannot predict the effect that the request would have on the surrounding property values. Second item, staff response is that we believe there'll be minimal effect on the normal and orderly development or improvement of surrounding areas. The third item, staff's response is that the existing utilities and facilities that are already in place will be used for the bed and breakfast on the subject property. The fourth item, staff's response is that for the recreational resort, which is also going to be the bed and breakfast, they have 1 additional parking space for every 2 rooms or suites plus 2 additional parking spaces for every 3 employees. For the single-family residence, they're required to have 2 parking spaces for 1 parking space for every bedroom. Also, for the last item, staff's response is that the proposed conditional use permit by its very nature should have limited odor, fumes, dust, noise, and vibrations, and intrusive lighting. For this subject property, the Bolts applied with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Department of Health for permits and have obtained a score of 98 out of 100 for the site inspection. They've also received approval from South Dakota Department of Natural Resources to operate as a recreational resort. And and they also have their sales tax license. What they're planning to do is to live in the adjacent structure, which would be the old guest house, for less than 180 days. It just happens to be that it coincides that way, and to operate the main single-family residence as the bed and breakfast. That is allowable. And that is what their request has been. And the Planning Commission approved that request with 14 conditions. And the following day, on October 29th, we received an appeal from Kathy Cook, who is a neighbor to the north. And I'll show you here. So what we're looking at right here, the property of the applicant is here with the red dot on it. The complainant owns property, and this is just one of the several properties to the north. The complainant was discussing a pool owned by the property owner over here, and that is the pool, that little white dot over there. What the complainant's concern was is people from the bed and breakfast going across the street on this blind curve. That was one of the complaints that she issued or talked about in her letter, which is right there. So with that, if you'd like to talk with Mrs. Bolt, she is in the audience. Miss Cook, who lives in Texas, could not be here today and declined being on the phone to answer any questions and requested that just the letter that she submitted stand on its own.
Okay. So any questions or discussion?
Madam, oh, go ahead.
Madam Chair, PJ, who owns the pool? Who owns the property of the pool?
That is relatives of the Bolts. I believe it's a daughter-in-law and son.
So a lot of that complaint, it was like people using the bed and breakfast were throwing garbage on the adjacent neighbor. Did I read that right?
You did. It didn't have anything to do with the subject property for the bed and breakfast. It's the
Right,
property
because
across the street.
the complainant, she's on the other side of the Silver Mountain Road, right?
Yeah.
That is correct.
Commissioner LaCroix, do you have anything?
He asked the same question I was going to. I guess the only difference is so the garbage that she's saying that's coming is from the pool property, which really isn't the Bolts property. That's relatives. It's underneath a different name.
It's under Bolts, the same name, but it's completely different owners, correct?
Different owners, but
Yes.
yeah. Yep. Okay. I'd just like to hear from the applicant. If she's out there. Give her the opportunity to.
Do you wish to speak?
That's what I should ask.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Bolt. Thank you for listening to me today.
Yes, ma'am.
I was concerned that most of the things she said had nothing to do with us. And just because we share the same name and we once owned that property. And it seems irrelevant to what she's saying. She said the speed limit on the road was, and what I found out, it wasn't correct. That's not the correct speed limit. And I see our neighbors all the time walking on that road, and we're all very courteous to our neighbors when they're walking on the road. They walk their dogs, they bike, they run, and you be aware of that when you're on a road like that. And to say that our guests would use the adjacent property's pool is not, I walk across the road to get my mail. My mailbox is on the other side of the road, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna have my guests going over there to use their property. And if Kathy Cook would tell you all the surrounding people are her relatives, that she probably shared the same name as them at one time also. Just because you share the same name doesn't mean it's, so, I don't know, do you have questions for me?
Yes, ma'am.
I got one question for Marilyn.
Commissioner
So Marilyn, how long have you been doing the bed and breakfast? I mean, when did you file and get your, so this is the 1 year right now?
We have
Are
not.
Are you applying for it right
We're
now?
applying.
Okay, so this is a new one that you're,
We just built the home as our residence, and we go to Arizona in the winter, and we just want to live in the guest house and run the bed and breakfast 6 months of the year, May through October.
okay, that answers
Sure.
my question. Thank you.
Commissioner Roskinek.
Marilyn, how often does this Kathy Cook live on this property?
She does not, she was willed that property, to my understanding, from her father. But she lives in Texas, and that would be my question. I don't think she's there very often.
Yeah, because based on the testimony that I read, if she does, If she's not there, I don't know how she could be so specific on a lot of this stuff. Does she got a permanent residence on that property?
No, it is just pasture.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
It looks like we've got some letters from Tara Bolt that, I mean, do you allow your guests to
No.
use her pool?
No, we had no intentions of doing that.
Okay, so, yeah. I'm
I
kinda
think
wondering.
she has liabilities that way, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And also the speed limit up there, I'm quite certain is 45. And, people, because of the trails that come off of Silver Mountain Road or walking down Silver Mountain, I am all the time with my dogs and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think that people that use that road are aware that there's foot traffic on that road quite often. As a matter of fact, it might even be 35. Do you know, Ron?
I wouldn't go past 35.
Right. I actually think the speed limit is 35, not 45, but nevertheless. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I
Commissioner
make a motion
Drews.
to approve the conditional use permit,
Second.
CU
Moved by
19-27.
Oh, we got PJ
Is there a second?
putting the brakes on us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The correct motion would be to uphold planning commission's decision,
That's
What's
what he
that?
said.
to
Yeah.
uphold
He
planning
said that.
commission decision. Oh, you did? Okay.
No, he didn't. You made a motion to uphold the planning commission's decision, didn't you?
Oh, okay. Yes,
Yes.
that was my motion.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Drews, discussion Drews.
And I seconded it.
Question. Has Kathy Cook ever made direct contact with you in regard to this?
She has refused to ever talk to us.
All right. Any other discussion? Did we miss anybody? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for waiting around.
And it looks like you keep up your property very nicely.
Try to, yes, thank you.
Okay. And next, number 20, let's start with the Santo today.
Oh, on reports, let's see here. I met individually with Ron with the fair and just discussed a little bit about our suggestion as far as setting aside a maintenance plan for the fairgrounds, and he's in agreement with that. And then he also, and I don't have my notes with me, but I asked him quite a few questions as far as I get a lot of questions about why are we paying for the fairgrounds by people that don't use the fairgrounds and that kind of stuff. And between the two of us, we came up with multiple good reasons why we're helping out with the fairgrounds and how it does support the county. And that even though we may not be getting sales tax, we are seeing additional hotels and restaurant business and that kind of stuff that keeps those places in business, which helps them continue to pay their property taxes. So there is a trickle-down effect for the county, which probably far exceeds what we're putting into the fairgrounds. And with the addition of the new stalling barn, that's just going to increase revenue, and it's actually going to increase the number of people that are utilizing our hotels and our restaurants and our businesses in the area that are that'll keep those buildings full and keep those people paying property taxes. So it makes sense. Thank you.
And you went to the groundbreaking.
Oh yeah, I threw a shovel of dirt before I was supposed to.
We're putting 20 and 21 together for items from chair and commission members and committee reports, if that's okay. Okay. Mr. Rosk.
I went to a coffee and donut session for the Rapid City Development of our Department of Community Development, where we talked about updated plans for the new arena, which is subsequent to that has been branded as the monument. Vicki Fisher talked extensively about new zoning for what they call small and tiny homes. That was really interesting. Each one of these, we had 3 tables set up. One was the Civic Center, one was the Community Development Block Grant, and then we had the tiny homes. And I think we have a few area developers in the Rapid City area that are going to start pursuing this tiny home concept. A tiny home could be no smaller than 150 square feet.
How many?
150.
150, okay.
Park model is 400 square feet, so a tiny home is literally a tiny home. And they can't be any larger than 600 square feet. Then when you go above 600 square feet, you go into what they call a garden home. And a garden home has to be larger than 600 square feet and cannot exceed 900 square feet. So these homes, they can go on, determine the size of the lot. You take for an example, here's an example. If you got a 800 square foot dwelling with a 100 square foot accessory building, an accessory building can not be larger than 10 by 10. You got a total of 900 square feet with the home and the accessory building, which would be a carport or shed. Well, if that equates to 900 square feet, divide that by 30%, and your lot would have to be a minimum of 3,000 square feet. And 3,000 square feet, a lot of people have homes bigger than 3,000 square feet, so they want to put these in little communities, have a park, and that subsequently that park could be city-owned, but it's a whole new concept. It's going to require whole new zoning. It was very interesting.
How many square feet in an acre?
What's that?
How many square feet in an acre?
43,560. So you can put a lot of tiny homes in an acre.
Okay.
How about
And
two
you
acres?
have to have one off-street parking for each tiny home.
Okay.
How about 2, 4, and 6 acres? How many in each of those?
What's that?
I thought that was pretty, like, boom. He knew that.
I know he did.
That was pretty crazy. Good job.
Thank you.
Here?
Okay, last night I attended the Central States Fair Board meeting, and a couple of things that came out of that is for the Black Hills Stock Show, they're going to be adding a youth show this year that they've not had before, they're really looking at this being a very strong addition to the stock show. Also, in regard to that, they're working with the Civic Center relative to the challenges that are going to be coming about because of the parking this year with the construction going on. And it's not only a parking issue for this year, it will be for in the future because part of the new building is going to be taking up what has been used as parking space in the past. So they're trying to work through those challenges with both contestants that are going to be at the Black Hills Stock Show and the regular visitors. And the update on the stalling barn was they're looking at probably completion in May on that. And as we all know, having been there at the groundbreaking, that construction is underway already. Also, a week ago, the chair and I had the opportunity to go speak to the Leadership Rapid City class, and which was good, interesting, and some good questions. In addition to that, I did attend their graduation dinner on Saturday evening, and got some very good leaders coming out of that group. Pretty exciting group. In addition, Chamber Board meeting last week. I brought them up to date as to where we're at with the comprehensive master plan and the dates that have been set for hearings here on that. The other discussion there also centered around the red carpet LNI start December 17th, I believe is the date on that. And then also a week ago, Ascent Innovation did an invite, and so we got to visit quite a few of the incubators that are in that facility. For the first time for me of being in that facility as it is today, I was rather amazed at the size of the building itself. And they got some really exciting programs going on inside that. And I think that's all I have. Oh, no, one more. I attended the Pennington County Conservation District banquet last week also. Good attendance on that. Some changes relative to the conservation districts with combination of working with basically a 3-county area, Meade, Butte, and Pennington County, in order to get some of the field people back out into the field. There's going to be a little bit of administrative change there. Still going to see all the employees, but it gets some of those that have been locked basically to a desk for administrative purposes where their expertise is really to be out in the field. It's going to release them to get back out in the field. So, but it was a good banquet. Dwayne Beck from runs one of the SDSU experiment farms was there, speaking on what they're doing as far as the various experiments, and it's been very successful. A lot of things to be gained through SDSU and our ag people from that experience. That's it.
Thank you. Couple things, a reminder and announcement to encourage comments in writing ahead of time on our hearing for our comprehensive plan. December 4th and 18th of December, we start at 9 a.m. Anybody has anything on that? Miss Holly can probably answer those questions. Couple of things on December 2nd. Don't forget that we have a planning department is having a luncheon, and the commissioners are invited, and that's potluck. December 6th is am I correct, the county appreciation potluck. That's always amazing. We're going to have commission. We have got things from our commissioners already for our prizes. So thank you. And also everybody contributed to the candy bars and stuff. So thank you, commission, from Holly and Joan and what's Sandy. I can never get Sandy's name. Thank you for all your work that you are doing on that. December 11th, there's a fire service board dinner at the EOC. We have chili and different things just to thank the firemen all year for all their work. And it's pretty fun. And then we're giving a couple prizes away for that. But it's chili, and Jerome just reminded me to invite the commission if they'd like to come from 6 to 7. You don't have to stay for the board meeting, but maybe come and thank the people on that board of what they do all year. So that would be December 11th on a Wednesday.
What's on the 18th?
11th.
Oh.
December 11th is the fire service board here at EOC at 6. December 6th is the counties, and that's here. And then the planning one is upstairs. So the December 2nd and 6th are potlucks, and the other one is just come and eat some chili and have a nice visit with your peoples. And what else do we have? I can't remember, but I'm good. I'll let Lloyd tell about the Illinois and some things that are happening with that. So,
Thanks, Deb. That brings up a good point with all these meetings. Someone had brought it up to me about maybe they can get sent to us so we can schedule them on have them on our phones. Just an idea. You know how you get them, you can schedule them on your phones, on your calendar?
yeah.
Must be a way that you can send them all so it automatically downloads on your calendar somehow or another. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But
work for me, I definitely need it.
The reason why I say that is because I was off by a week last week, all week. And that's no kidding. I'd show up at a deal and I was like, oh, that's next Saturday, not this Saturday.
I did that on,
So
I did
saved
that on
myself
Wednesday.
quite a bit of that. But no, I think all of us did the groundbreaking for the stall barn, which turned out to be a really good turnout. The mayor and Ron and the board did an excellent job of presenting. And another one I did was, and I seen Gary there, was the groundbreaking for the Civic Center. That was a pretty outstanding event to listen to Don Barnett again talk about the past and how things come together, and when he talks about how the council come together from the 72 flood, it always brings back memories how hard they worked together. But that was a really good event, well turned out. Another one was, just as Gary had mentioned, was the Ascent one. That was the first one I'm on the board. For a little while, the Ascent's going away. That board, they're going to go into Elevate Rapid City. Elevate's going to take them over, but that's more or less going to be gradual as the new building gets constructed for Ascent. Once that new building's done, then I think they're just gonna, they are gonna consolidate into there.
Yep.
So I'll just pass that on. Another one I went to was the Abbott House one, which was pretty amazing. It's right down the street from my house, and I didn't even know it was there. Well, it just goes to show you that,
I still don't know where it's at. Where is it at,
it's,
Lloyd?
it's right across the street from Vicky Potter's Park off Catherine Street. So,
I apologize, I had family, so.
yeah, so I mean, it's just like the third house down. I would have never known. It's just a regular house. Nobody, you never know.
What do they do in the Abbott house, Lloyd, again?
They house children that have been in trouble or taken from Gary probably has a lot better recollection than I do on that stuff. But foster houses.
Nice.
But they can only be, after they're 18,
Yeah.
technically they gotta leave, and the problem is a lot of them are in high school when they're 18.
Yeah.
So the state does have the discretion to let them finish high school, which
Age out.
was my only concern.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's foster home, so it's like what max is 6.
I think there's 8 in this particular house, but there's 3 of them that belong to one family.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I mean, it's pretty unique. You walk into it, it's a home. So I mean, I think that's a good atmosphere. So
Yep.
that was good. There was some good turnout there. I don't remember what my other notes was. Oh, did the groundbreaking and then the county highway. I kind of did the groundbreaking with the highway truck decorating for the parade of lights, and great thanks to Holly and Connie and all those involved in that. It's growing. I mean, there were some kids out there, and the truck looks pretty awesome.
When is that, when is the Parade of Lights, Holly?
The Saturday night after Thanksgiving, next weekend, the
30th. 30th? Nice. That's actually amazing to watch.
No, I'm
I'm
sorry.
excited
The
to see
30th.
us in there.
I tell you, that group, they really put some hard work and thought into this thing, and it's a new truck this year. It looks awesome, and they were working on it so much, you had to go tell them to shut down to go eat because it was getting to be about the end. They kept hanging out there, putting lights on and doing stuff. Finally, we had to go out and say, hey, better eat. So, because they all brought some food, and
nice.
It was a good turnout. I mean, we had people from Buildings and Grounds, the Health and Human Services. So it was a multi-department
Team effort.
type thing. So that was pretty good.
That's awesome.
Holly, one more time, that week, is that December 30th? The Parade of Lights?
That Saturday?
Or November 30th?
November 30th.
November.
November 30th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I guess December 30th would be a little late, wouldn't it?
Yeah. This is over.
But otherwise, and I wanted to thank Gary for covering for me on the fair board meeting.
Lloyd in your L&I.
Oh, L&I. Yeah, L&I's coming up. I did talk to, I don't have the dates in front of me, but Holly will get that out. We need to find out how many people want to be involved, because I talked to Laura Armstrong, president of the city council, and they're excited about it too, but she wasn't sure how many people they had. I said, well, our commission's pretty united. I think all 5 want to participate. So can you get 5? I don't know if everybody does or not, but I think as soon as we know who all wants to participate, then I think we need to contact them, say, if we got 5, you need 5, and I think they can get it. But if we have 4, then the standard's 4, what we've been for the last 2 years, so.
Nice. We got to win this year.
It's
Gonna
1
ruin
and
our
1.
reputation.
That's my first year.
It's 1 and 1, so.
Ron's saying without him, we can't win.
And I believe that's December, it's in December, so I'm thinking 17th, or I don't know,
Sounds like we
15th or something like that.
I think it's the 20th?
You might be, you're probably more right.
Because the 6th is the county employee thing, the 13th is Black Hills Association of County Commissioners.
Yep.
And I think it's on the 20th.
Friday, December 20th, 11 to 1.
Yep.
Rushmore Civic Center, Rushmore D.
Yeah, so I would probably by the end of this week, probably shoot Holly or Holly an email saying whether you want to participate on December 20th. Normally it's about 1 o'clock, but you got to be there at 11, something like that. Or they recommend coming there at noon. So if we have 5, then I can talk to them and see if we can get 5. If we have 4, then we'll do the 4.
Sounds good. Anything else we missed, Miss Holly, okay?
One more
One more.
for me.
Commissioner Drews.
To go under the items from commission members, there's no real other appropriate area to put this, I don't think. One of our responsibilities as a county commission is to establish voting precincts. Fortunately, so that we don't have to be doing this individually, County Auditor Cindy Moeller has been doing that on our behalf. And I think she's been a little bit unfairly chastised for making some changes for the voter precincts for this coming year. But she's doing that at the request of the school superintendent, and I believe the chief of police requested that they try to move them out of the schools. And I see at the school board meeting last night, on a non-binding resolution, the school board voted 4-3, indicating their dislike for moving it out of the schools. And I think Cindy's kind of caught in the crosshairs on this, that she was doing what she believed was the wishes to have it done that way, and then some static has now come about it. And so apparently not all the people were informed as to what the push was going to be as far as moving those voting districts out of the schools. So I think that whatever blame Cindy's taking probably should fall back on this commission rather than she taking the blunt of the.
So should we put it on the next agenda, what this wish of this board is? As a resolution or something like that? Ms. Holly, do you have a suggestion?
I can certainly talk to Cindy about it, what the process is, if she intends to bring the list to you guys for approval in January, or what her plan is.
Okay, that'd be a good idea, so that we're ahead of this game, and then we're taking what we need to do and take the appropriate steps where we need to move on, so. Is that cool?
Sounds good.
Gary? Okay,
Yep.
everybody okay with that? All righty. So next is approval of vouchers. I have to abstain, so I'm gonna have Gary go ahead and do that, because I need to abstain because we have $600 in vouchers for the price.
We've got vouchers in the amount of $7,554,723.39. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion from LaCroix. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ross Connect. Discussion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
With Deb abstaining from the price sale.
Chair abstaining.
Next is items from the public. Jay or John, JJ, either one of you want to speak? J and J.
I noticed that Jay has a habit of when somebody points to him like he needs to answer this, that he turns around and he looks behind as if there's another J in the room.
And he does.
That was a nice public discussion, Gary. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ross Connect, second by LaCroix. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.